Let's see. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, this whole layout's changed. I don't like the. I guess I can see the comments for me, but are they showing up at all? What's going on, Clint? What's going on, Billy? What's up, Gary? Yeah, had a good time at Farm brother. Yeah, had a pretty good time. Got pretty hammered. Thursday night, I got hammered. Friday, man, we woke up that tent in the morning. I guess where we set up, we got the morning sun, and about 7:30, the same sun came up. By 8 o'clock, that tent's like 100 degrees, and it's just get your ass out of there. Problem is, I went to bed about 7 and was hammered. Oh man, I felt horrible all day Friday. Friday night, eh, okay-ish. By Saturday, I was feeling better though. Just did it all again after that. Going on, Michael? Hey, brother, that's what we're here for. What's up, Michael? Number two, doing good, Mr. Black. How about yourself? What's going on, CM? Well, you know what? The only good thing about that, generally, those cross spaces are pretty cool. The bad thing about them, I don't like the rocky ones. I like the ones that are dirt and dry. Those are the good ones. The rocky ones hurt every where you go and crawl, and then the muddy ones are just miserable. I've been a lot of crawl spaces over the years. That's part of my job, is to get in the crawl spaces, inspect, look around, and I hate. Oh, you can hear me. That's better. Yeah, it is. It's definitely time to relax and take it easy. I slept about a day. Man, I was worn out. Getting my hours straight was still not right. A couple people called me in the afternoons, and it was like I wouldn't even answer if I was asleep in the afternoon. So awesome. What you got going? Yeah, I finally figured out I wasn't. Thought I added myself to stage before I went live. I guess not. What's up, Sydney? Awesome. 30 pounds of pears and apples. Yeah, that's what I do with my stuff, man. I'll freeze it and keep going with it and freezing it until I get enough to do something. Yeah, it's pretty good. Pretty good weekend. What's going on, Curtis? What's up, Jeff? Jeff, I meant to call you today. I got your message yesterday, but like I said, man, I was asleep when you left it the first time on Monday, and then yesterday I pretty much slept the whole day. And when I woke up, it was about 2 a.m. and I didn't want to bother you in the morning. And then at about 9 a.m. this morning, I went back to sleep and slept all day, and got up this evening. So it's been, yeah, it's tough getting my hours back together, but we'll definitely get it there. Yeah, I had a friend of mine, one of my peers actually. He an inspector and appraiser as well, and he got brown reclused in a crawl space right on his back of his kind of his shoulder and neck area there. And man, you wouldn't believe what a divot that left in his skin. There's a big, huge pock mark in his skin where that was. It was bad. What would cause your run to push all the fluids out of your thumper? Well, it could be a couple things, Kirk. one thing is you could be puking over into your thumper, filling it up, or you may have your thumper backwards, plumb backwards. You need to go into the thumper and all the way down to the bottom of the thumper, and then the output is going to be close to the lid and out to the condenser from there. A lot of times it can easily get put on backwards, and if it does, what happens is your steel pushes pressure into the thumper and forces all the liquids out if the downcomer is on the condenser side. So I would say that's probably what's happened. A lot of thumpers just come up and they have the same exact, connectors, compression connectors, or clamp connectors, not C clamp, tri clamp connectors, and so they look the same. So it's real easy to get them reversed. But I would say most likely could be the problem. There was a rock covered with plastic. The bathroom seal is bad for the apartment I was at. Soaked insulation, wet wood, bubbled floor full of water, moldy underneath and dripping. Ooh, fun. Man, that's a bad situation. Good to see you, brother. What's going on, Stephen? How are things in the Aloha State? Yeah, check and see if when you come out of the steel, it it should go into the long pipe that goes into the thumper that goes all the way down. That's your input. So it goes in there, and then the output should be close to the lid. It's either that or it got filled up all the way. If it once it gets filled up all the way, it'll do the same thing. It just pressure pushes it. So that's what's going on, John. Yeah, that's what had happened to him. It made necrotic tissue, and he had a lot of infection, and it was a big deal. But yeah, it left a big divot in him for sure. Trying to get rehydrated up this weekend, man. I drank a lot this weekend. Whole bunch, man. I was pickled. Thursday night, man, I got hammered. Awesome. Yeah, I got a buddy of mine that loads trailers all day. He works with Amazon. Amazon or Walmart? Now I'm thinking about it. I don't know. I think maybe it is Walmart now. I'm thinking about it. He loads trucks all day. Distribution center. It's that time, brother. It's definitely Miller time. Cool. Awesome company. Is that the chicken processor? They got a lot of different things going on over at Purdue. But yeah, we like Purdue better than who's the one that China bought? Tyson, yeah. Yeah, we like Purdue. So those pears and apples, man, those pears are tough to get flavor carry. But we had our watermelon competition. Did horribly. I did mine. A lot of people were smart and they started early and ran it several different ways, several different times, and kind of figured it out. I ran mine last week once and it was horrible. I'll never do watermelon, nor will I ever recommend anyone doing watermelon. The wine didn't. Well, one of the wines was okay, but I did 3 different types of watermelon, right? So the dark green ones, the round dark green seedless ones, those aren't bad. Those made a decent wine and probably would have made a better shine had I just had those. But I wanted to see which of the 3, how they worked out fermenting and their properties and stuff. So I got that. The dark green ones did really well. The round ones that are kind of variegated with light green, medium green, looks like the regular long ones, but it was seedless. Those did okay-ish, kind of a neutral smell, not really good, not really bad, kind of weird, but not bad. And then the big long seeded ones that took so long to seed and to prepare were the worst ones. They stunk. It was horrible. Um, didn't even really. I didn't even run it. I just dumped it. A little bit of alcohol in there, but I'm not. I wasn't gonna. Low on time, and it really stunk so bad. And what was coming out, the ones that, yeah, I understand that how that works. What's going on, Mr. Dance? Good to see you, brother. On tap, still drinking that Weedy Buddy Butcher Sour Mash. I got a little bit of that left. I don't know, might hit some of that Big Easy Peach down there. I got a few other little ones down there I gotta finish up. But the watermelon and I ran the 2. So I ran the one that tasted okay, tasted good, and had good color. The dark one had good color to it, good red color. The others were pink, had very little. I didn't I didn't ferment any of the pulp or any of that. I just got all the liquids and all the sugars off and pressed everything out. Didn't leave any of the pulp. That usually makes it get even worse, believe it or not. And it's not good to use pectic enzyme on them because it just makes a lot of heads, and it's not it's not that kind of fruit, and it's not that much juice or anything stored in the pulp itself. It's basically just creating heads, wood alcohol, methanol and stuff. It's not very beneficial. It's not like other fruits that have a lot of juices and things locked in the pulp. Once you press them out, you pretty much got them, got it licked. But really, really smelly. The tried infusing with the snow cone syrup, with the Jolly Rancher candies, with Kool-Aid, and nothing carried forward at all. Just nothing. It was bad. Probably one of the worst. Actually, the worst I've had in a long, long time. I mean, I can't think of anything that I've done recently that's been worse, but I haven't done a lot of strange stuff, a lot of kind of off the cuff, kind of oddball kind of things. I haven't done really a lot of those. So it'll, when you start experimenting like that, you tend to run into some things that are bad, and you wonder why. You go into a store and you don't see a lot of different. Well, you don't walk in and see watermelon wine or shine, and there's generally a pretty good reason for that. It sucks. That's why you don't see it. So everybody have a good weekend. Clean out run. Good question. It's easy to gelatinize it, but it gets pretty thick. It gets pretty gummy. So you're gonna have to use your amylases to help thin it out. Helps to use barley if you got some malted barley to mix with it. Those have a beta glucanase, instead of just glucoamylase. There's actually a glucanase that helps with that. But it is a mess. But a lot of people do a lot of different, all grain runs. I've never done, all wheat or all rye. Or, I've not never really had much with rye. I do a little bit of rye here and there. I like using low percentages of rye, but I've done the all corn. But as far as doing all barley, I need to do a Scotch. I haven't done the Scotch yet, but because of that, it is a mess, John. To do a clean out run. All right. So with a copper steel, it's going to be different than with a stainless steel. With your copper steel, you're basically just going to do a vinegar run with a 50-50 vinegar water, just a couple of gallons in there to run it out, a couple of gallons of water, a couple of gallons of vinegar. You can get the higher proof stuff if you want to, and kind of, you know, you know, dilute it down. But generally, run your vinegar first, and then run some water, rinse it all out, and then a lot of people do a sacrificial run, which is basically an alcohol run, sugar wash, and that'll basically, what you do this for is the vinegar run will get anything that acid will solvent off. So anything that the acid will get off, your acid from your vinegar will work, and then your water helps rinse all that off and anything that's water soluble. And then you follow up with a alcohol run, and that'll get anything that's alcohol soluble. So oils, you'll get a lot more oils and rubbing compounds, things like that, with your alcohol run that that are insoluble in water. A lot of people don't like to do the alcohol sacrificial run. To them, it's a waste, and it's an opinion thing. It's I prefer it to be on the safe side. I do know that on my steel, I got a stainless one, and I did basically cleaning it out real well. With stainless, you don't have the copper, the oxides to worry about. But there are a lot of oils, greases, and buffing compounds that are on there. So I think it's just as important to do that sacrificial run with stainless as it is with copper, for getting all those greases. But basically, I've watched the process. Have you ever seen the TV show How It's Made? So they basically should go into the factories and show you, everything step for step how it's done. And I've seen how they make these big pots, right? They get these big, huge square sheets of metal. It goes into this press. This press comes down, this huge round press, presses it in to the shape, and then they just trim the rim around and then roll it to make the pot. So it's this big, huge hydraulic press ram that comes down and forms it, and there's a lot of greases and on that to help keep it from creasing and bending and not being seated properly and pressing out evenly. So after that happens, they pull them out, they trim the top edge, and then they roll the top edge, and then next it goes into a buffing. So they clean it and make it real shiny and get so many different layers of buffing compounds and creams and stuff to buff it out and shine it up. um, so the one I got, my pot, when I started, I cleaned it with, of course, hot water and Dawn dishwashing liquid, and that cleaned it pretty well. I thought I had it, all done, and I'm like, well, I'm just going to experiment here and see, if there's anything that alcohol, might get off this that the Dawn didn't and the hot water didn't. So I got a nice white rag and I got some alcohol. You can use isopropyl alcohol if you don't have heads. Heads, it's pretty good to use, use of heads to help clean it. And it, it's a little higher volatile heads are than ethanol. So, it's pretty good cleaner. So I got the rag, and started rubbing really hard, and kind of get some elbow grease inside this pot all the way around it, rubbing real hard. And I could see where had been. So I'm like, wow. And I look at that white rag, man, it was gray. There's gray, and I had no doubt in my mind that was buffing compound, that was all over it. And so I'm like, heck yeah. So I cleaned it all out the best I could. And then I did a run. And when I finished with that run, all the way around the top where it boils and you get that foaminess, there was this gray crud. And I mean, it was pretty fucking thick on there, man. It built up right along just the edge where it boils around at the surface of the water. But it's like an inch from the top of the water up where it boiled, I guess, and bubbled up and foamed. But yeah, it was like gray sludge, man, and it was pretty thick, and that would have been in whatever was coming out at the other end as well, which got pitched. But sure was. It was a good thing to do and clean out, and I recommend it for people. Some people, oh, you don't need to do that and this that, and they never did it and they're fine. And if that's their standard, if their standard is I survived through it, then more power to them. I don't know. I don't know. Think about it. I don't know, Michael. I've done pear one time and it didn't carry, and I wished I just left it as a wine because it made a pretty good wine. But it didn't carry at all, not at all. Yeah, here, let me show you get the little image up here. I love my little, gotta get my, there we go. Let's see. What the heck? All right. Hmm. Looking for my chart. Here we go. I don't know why the desktop's changed. This is weird, kind of. The comments over here are really big and the desktop small, but hopefully you can read this. And if you look right here in the middle, you can see wheat, right at 150, 145, 50 in that green range. Yeah, that's where you want to, that's your gelatinization range. So you want to keep it at the upper end of that. Unless it's malted wheat. If it's malted, you might want to lower your temperature a little bit. Yeah, now 10% is great. I would definitely, and I would start out with that. I would just start out with the corn, and when you get down to 155, um, instead, where you normally would you throw in some barley malt, you can throw in some wheat or barley wheat, or malted wheat. Seb flow. I never can remember that stuff. Yeah, and I guess that's a glucanase. Yeah, yeah, you can. And I don't use the 551. I don't the adding the hydrogen peroxide to it really super oxid. It's an oxidizer, and it really cranks up the potency of it. And you can actually start acid etching into your copper. So I would say that would be pretty much an extreme situation that I would use that, Jason. I would definitely have to just use the citric acid and water. Once you add that uh, hydrogen peroxide to it, it really intensifies it and concentrates it. And if you look at the surface of copper under a microscope, it's fairly smooth. But once you hit it with something like that, it acid etches it and starts pitting it out, and it actually increases your surface area and makes it easier for it to get green again, and to oxidize again. So best to try to do that only in extreme, situations where it's just real bad. Like, you get an antique piece of copper and it's just totally covered in it and it's really thick on there, and it's not coming off any other way. But we used to recommend it a lot. A lot of people recommend it a lot, but I think they found that with hydrogen peroxide in there, it really it's a catalyst basically, and it's an oxidizer. So it cranks it out. Oak steel products are great. They're perfectly fine. A lot of stuff comes out of China, and most all these stainless steel parts and ferrules and spools and tri clamps and all that. They all pretty much all of them are coming out of China. So they make pretty good stuff. Yeah, yeah, I agree, Clint. I've never had any problem. I've gotten things from them. Yeah, I'll send you some info on that later on when I get done. It's good seeing y'all this weekend. Yeah, that was the only thing about basically all the 2-inch spools and stuff are fine. Um, I did notice that the Debosch, and that's just another company that sells them. There's a lot of companies that have it. The same, little column setups, but it probably didn't have the polish as like a Denord. The parts weren't quite polished to the same level as Denord, but they all work just fine. Not had any issues with any of them. All that, very good value on all those parts. When you add up, all the different, the phlegmator, the spools that you're getting, the elbows that you're getting, and the condenser that you get, the shotgun condenser, well made. It's definitely worth it. The sum of the parts is definitely there. I'm not sure if I'll be able to go to Beattyville or not. I was 100% going, but got home, and my old high school is having a football reunion, 100-year sports reunion thing, and they're wanting all the past players to come, and I was an all-conference football player there, so I guess if I ever want to get in the Hall of Fame, I better show up for something. I think I'm the only all-conference player that's not in the Hall of Fame, and that's because the coach hated me because I was a smoker. I smoked weed, and I didn't really give a shit. I was kind of a yeah, exactly. That's exactly why he didn't like me. But but he didn't have any choice. The all conference was voted on by all the coaches and all the teams in the conference. And I don't think he nominated me or voted for me, but all the other coaches did because they liked the way I played, and they saw that I played hard, and they didn't have anything personally against me like my coach did. But I still got to play because he had no choice but to play me. Yeah, but yeah, I better go and see all my old buddies that played football with. It's been a long time, about 40 years, maybe a little more, 42 years. 44 years. Wow. Some of them I haven't seen since then. So yeah, it'll be a good time. I need to do that. Definitely need to do that. So I probably may not be a Beattyville this year. I hate it because yeah, I was a star football player there 100 years ago. Yeah, it's funny, funny. Yeah, and the little digital thermometers that came on there. I'm glad you mentioned that because I was going to mention that. I prefer the dial too. If I'm going to have one, I definitely prefer the dial. They didn't have but just a little digital, and I didn't like the way it was drilled and kind of glued into the sensor into the elbow there where it was. Came without batteries. I really didn't care much about it. Um, but yeah, that was the only really thing that other than the polish, the level of polish on the parts was not as nice as a Denord um, or an oak steel. An oak steel, I don't think makes a lot of those parts. I think they just, like Weber, they just have somebody make them for them. But yeah, that's probably the worst thing was their little digital thermometer thing that came on there that was broken, or the battery cover was broken off, and I didn't get batteries with it at all. Yeah, I like a thermometer on my coolant. That's the most important thing for me is keeping my coolant at a good temperature. All right, brother. Anytime, man. Just give me a shout, and I'll send some info on that in Messenger. Um, really, on a reflux column when you got bubble plates, you're really watching more how the alcohol is reacting and dancing on your plates and how much load and alcohol that you have on your plate. So really, that's you're generally focused more on that than you would be at a thermometer. The good thing about a thermometer, is it will it'll let you know about when you without touching and feeling, the pipes all the way down. It'll kind of give you an idea of when you got some, hot vapor going into, your parts and into your, vapor path. So it gives you an idea of when you can expect maybe to start seeing a drip if you don't want to feel your way across, fill your condenser and all that up. So it'll give you an idea of that, and I guess some people, depending on your heat source, may tend to get things too hot or not hot enough. But I will just go on your drip. Basically just judge from the speed of your drip and the size of your steel. Of course, the larger the steel, the faster it can come off. So kind of go by the drip or the small stream, depending on the size of your steel, and adjust the temperature, the electric or the fire with based on that instead of any thermometers. But really, it's most important to pay attention to your coolant and to keep your coolant temperature pretty steady in your flake or in your shotgun condensers. If you can keep it between 65 and 75, and you know around 70, pretty much optimal. Doesn't matter if you get a little swing into 60 or into 80, but try to keep it in that range, and you'll get good consistent outflow as well. So I think it's important to keep that temperature regulated and just basically go on your drip for the steel. Now, continuous steel, that's going to be different. There's not a lot of people in the hobbies that run a continuous steel. Um, I don't know if you know Eric Ayers that co-founded DIY Shining Stuff with me. Um, he made up a continuous steel back in the day and ran it, and the mad scientist, and it was pretty cool the way he had it set up. And I don't know that he ever used a thermometer with his either. It's basically just titrating that drip in and getting that amount that you have coming in equal with what's coming off, and monitoring what's in the pot below, all the tails of water that fall below into the boiler. So I think that was most what he focused and concentrated on. It depends, Michael. If you have a one of the Vevor 3 pots and you've got the original condenser, then yeah, that's I should state that if you have an efficient flake and cooling system, that's the best temperature to keep it. It would be next to impossible to keep one of those small condensers, the Vevor condensers, even close to regulated, much less cool. No, what you have to do on those is, yeah, like you freeze water bottles, just the regular drinking bottles, because they'll fit right in the middle of it. And just freeze those in the freezer and just keep dropping those in there to help keep it cool enough. Is It's hard to run enough water through it to keep it cool enough once it gets going. So it's really tough to keep cool enough. So, but yeah, no, it's okay to put like a jug of ice. I'll get like a water, a gallon of water and freeze it and set it down in my coolant water to help, because I'm recirculating instead of getting fresh. So it really depends on the size of your reservoir, but that'll help keep my temperatures regulated to 70. So if you follow me, so putting that ice in there helps keep it at 70, and that's part of the reason I monitor and maintain that temperature. And I've got some fresh water coming into it, and of course I'm dumping water as it gets too hot, and I regulate the outflow. Basically, what happens as the condenser gets hotter, the water that comes off of it gets hotter, and then I don't put that in my reservoir. I just exhaust that out and just into the drain and bypass that. And then once it gets cooler, I'll go back to I'll take that drain back to the um, reservoir and just circulate it until it gets hot again. Then I kick it off to the side, and then I'll add water while I'm draining off to the side. I'll add water to the reservoir at about the same rate that it's draining, and that's really it's yeah. If you got a 55-gallon barrel, that it's a lot easier to keep it regulated. The smaller your reservoir, the tougher it is, and up to one of them little bevers. That's it, and it's just really, it's almost impossible to keep those up, temperature regulated. But if you've got a 55-gallon barrel, yeah, I just get jugs, gallon jugs of ice or water, freeze it, and just drop those in there to help keep things cool. And as it starts warming up, you can add another one, or take that one out, and it may be water by now, and just replace it with another one. A lot of people use coolers, big coolers, anything like that works well. Yeah, it's great meeting you too, Justin. Yeah, it's a lot of fun, man. What's going on, Jason? Moonshine Mafia outdoors. All right. Now, is that a Facebook group or? Yeah, we had a good time, man. It was a good time. Yeah, we enjoy it, man. Yeah, Yes, I didn't see that, John. Yeah, definitely with the Vever, with the three pots, they'll have like the condenser sitting on top of the boiler, and it's like one of the hottest places, and it's supposed to be a cool spot, So yeah, if you can definitely plumb that away, get it away from the top of the pot and further away from your flame, and everything else, definitely further the better. And once you upgrade that worm and, go to a 5-gallon bucket or a 10-gallon bucket or something like that with, some of the coiled up flexible copper, or I'm sorry, the coil copper, the softer stuff that you can get in the box, and it's so much more efficient, and you can use that for any size, for you can not any size steel, but you can graduate to up to most hobby type steels, for that. But it's definitely a far cry greater than the little teeny pot that they've got you using on these bevers. That's really the biggest issue I have with the three pot bevers is the gaskets, of course, and those condensers. But I've talked with a few of them, and Ian, they're going to try to find now these are the plastic gaskets, and they're going to try to find those and sell little kits for people that need it, because they break all the time, and they're not really good quality gaskets. So they're going to try to find those and sell those as a kit. That's one of the biggest problems, that and the condenser, and they can definitely hook you up on a decent condenser as well. If you have problems putting one together in a bucket, they can help you out a lot. But definitely try to get it away from that turkey fryer and those flames, and away from all the heat. Well, you came to the right place, William. We can get you going, brother. It's pretty easy. If you've never done it, we can take you step by step all the way through it. We've got a couple of groups on Facebook that also will help, with questions. But that's one of the reasons that we're here, is to help you along the way with everything that you need to know. I'm going to put together a beginner guide, um, that's got like steps, but the first step is still selection and deciding what kind of liquor that you want to make. And based on the type of liquor that you want to make, that will help you decide, what kind of still to buy, what kind of parts you need. If you like vodka and neutral flavors more, then you're going to want to lean towards a column. And if you prefer, brandies and whiskeys, then you're going to lean more towards a pot still. So, kind of deciding little things like that, and talk to people before you buy your steel. A lot of people will go out and buy the steel, and they say, "All right, I bought a steel. What do I need to know?" And first thing you need to know is what steel to get and what maybe to not get. Cool, Jason. Yeah, Lombardi steel. Yeah, there's a lot of different steels out there. Lombardi, that's Vindom and Lombardi. Those pretty nice setups, man. I'm from Kentucky, home of moonshine and bourbon. Yeah, submarine pots are nice. Hello, Miss Lisa. How are you? Wish you could have been there this weekend. We had a pretty good time. Absolutely, Kenny. That's the wisest advice that you can get, William. But if you're looking to get a steel, you got to decide, are you going to go with copper, and how much you want to spend. That's really the two biggest factors in deciding, is how big, and whether I want to go with a copper steel or with a stainless. Stainless is going to be less expensive, and going to be a lot cheaper and easier to maintain, whereas the copper steels are better, but they require a lot of maintenance, and it's tough to keep them clean and do things with. So that's pretty tough. Gotta do little things there anyway. Cool. You're not too far at all. But yeah, here's when people talk about, William, when people talk about the football steel, let me show you a picture of it here. I think I've got one. Tell me I saved that, or I have to go. Seems like every time I have to go to. This second. Let's see if I'm daggone it. Why am I? Let's see. Maybe it's in pictures. Let me look. It's not in my files there. Let's see if it's in my picture file. All right. Let me find it this way. Maybe if I. No, I don't have it saved. Damn it. Well, let me pull up Amazon real quick, and I'll grab you a picture of it. But I want you to see it because it's a pretty good steel, or a keg steel. That or a keg steel. I definitely recommend one of the two. When people go to Amazon, I ain't going there for the damn books. It takes me an Amazon Prime every time for books. I never go there for books. But here's the picture. Let me screenshot it again. This time I'm going to save it. So I'll have it, and I'll be able to find it next time. Screenshots. Favorite football steel. There we go. And we'll put this into. All right. Now, let me add that to the screen. All right, here you go. This top, as you see, it's basically just a stainless pot there at the bottom, but the head on it, it's kind of a whiskey head. You get some reflux out of that football. And then that's a canister condenser on the end of it. So it's kind of like a shotgun condenser, but instead of tubes, it's got just a coil inside, a stainless coil. So it does okay. I use shotgun on mine, but that's basically the football. It's very modular. If you see where the football connects to the stainless pot below, that's called a tri-clamp fitting, and there's a sanitary ferrule and gasket system that's easy to attach and reattach multiple times. Whereas a lot of the compression fittings, they're really not designed to go on, come off, go on, come off a bunch, because each time that metal kind of bites into it to seal on those unions and compression fittings. So over time, those start failing and leaking and causing issues, and you have to, sand the ball down, and then it'll start biting into it again, and eventually you're just going to have to replace them. So, but that's the 18 and a half that John's talking about there, and it's a good beginner setup. It comes in 18 and a half, I think, of 13, and then like maybe a 10, and probably smaller, but I think the 13 to the 18 is a pretty good size. It's a good beginner steel. Right. And that's the way to go. And I mean, you can pack that football, if you wanted to, with copper as well, and it does well. But if you're going for higher proof neutrals, definitely call them, and having that copper mesh, definitely the way to go, John. Sounds like you've been listening, brother. You got it figured out. Yeah, we're broadcasting on Facebook. We're on YouTube. We do Rumble. We do Kick. I didn't put these on Rumble and Kick because they're kind of buggy right now. We do Twitch too, that I didn't see on the list when I logged on. We usually do Twitch too. So we're on several. Well, you got some reading to get caught up on, brother. I recommend going to Moonshine Militia on Facebook and start asking questions there and here, and getting online and reading, finding books. Actually, there's some books on the militia page. If you go to the file section, there's some books on instructional books on distilling. And I'm talking like textbooks that are in the file section in PDF form. I look on the DIY Shine and Stuff page. I'm pretty sure I put some books and instructional stuff in there as well. I got to kind of worry about copyrights and patent type stuff, but we'll see what all we got. But there's quite a few textbooks there that would be pretty good reading. YouTube and the internet, just getting on Google and how to make moonshine, and read up on some of the links that they'll give you, and come here and ask your questions. I'm gonna do a beginners how to, a little bit of a recipe thing, and basically take you through the step by step. So it'll be more self-explanatory for you, but basically making corn liquor is converting the starches in the corns to sugars. And you do that by cooking your corn to a point where it gelatinizes. And that's it can gelatinize at anything over 145, 55 degrees, but the hotter the temperature, the less time it takes. So We generally do it at about 190 for about 90 minutes to 2 hours, and that'll gelatinize your corn. Then you want to use what's called an amylase enzyme. And these enzymes basically attach to the water molecules, to each hydrogen molecule in the water, and they bond to these complex sugars of basically it's like a strand of pearls, and you got molecules of glucose bound together, and it breaks those bonds. It cleaves, what they call cleaving. So it breaks those bonds up, and it makes fermentable sugars out of starches. And once you complete that process of breaking your starches down, you can get plenty of sugars out of a cheap corn, right? Out of just a regular yellow dent corn, out of the starch from the corn. And once you get those sugars broken down to where the yeast can consume them, then you ferment, and your yeast, of course, eats the sugar and creates alcohol. And then we basically boil that down and try to separate as much of the alcohol as we can from the water. We can't basically just straight distill it. A lot of people, and I've seen a lot of even AI and a lot of knowledgeable, you would think knowledgeable people telling you, yeah, just heat your water up to 175, 178, and all that ethanol will cook off. And it's like, and even some scientific places, and it's like you can't fractionally distill like that without special equipment. And in a pot still, which is what we use, you can't fractionally distill like that because alcohol and water and a lot of the other compounds that are in there are azeotropic. And what that means is when you combine azeotropic um, liquids together, it changes the boiling point, right? So the boiling point of the water is different. It declines, and the boiling point of the alcohol increases. And I'll show you a little chart that illustrates that. And I'll never understand why they keep saying this. So you'll see in this chart here, um, where it starts down over here. Let me erase that. At the very bottom, you see 173.1, which is the boiling point of ethanol. And if it's 100% or right at 100% ethanol, it will boil at that temperature. But the second you add water to it, and there's a whole host of other azeotropic compounds in there. We got propanol, we've got methanol, we've got quite a few. We've got uh, acetone. All these things are azeotropes, and so all these things combined changes the boiling point. So the more water that you have in alcohol, the lower the concentration of alcohol, and the higher the boiling point becomes. And the same with water. So the more alcohol you have in water, the lower the boiling point of the water becomes. So because they're azeotropes, you can't just set it at 175 and let it boil off unless you've got 160 proof. That if it'll boil at 175 if you have 80%, which is 160 proof. And you don't want to put that kind of proof in your still to begin with. But what we deal with is very far at the very bottom. That's the proof of the alcohol. That's the alcohol at the bottom of the chart. And on the left side, that's temperature. So what we deal with is in between, 10% is 20 proof, right? So we'll deal between 10 and 20. So that tells you somewhere between 190 and 195, 197. That's about the temperature that you'll start getting some action. And that's the boiler temp, not the vapor temp, from a thermometer that's measuring vapor temperature. It'll be lower because as soon as the vapor comes off the steel, it starts cooling and condensing and refluxing. So you'll get basically alcohol production out of the um, by boiling the alcohol and the water together. So that's pretty much the basis of it, William. It can get a lot more complex than that, or it can be as simple as that. It's just how much science do you want to, how much science you want to, apply and learn and get down. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And actually, the debosh steel or column that he's talking about, it comes with a little deflegmator. Those columns that we were talking about, they have a small shotgun deflegmator on there. So yeah, they and it works well. You know, you can get if you crank the water really cold to that deflegmator and have really really cold water going into it, you can get your proofs easy in the 180s. You know, mid 180s just with that column. You start packing it with the copper mesh. Yeah, you're going to get in your 190s for a vodka pretty easily without having to go with an elaborate, you know, bubble plated setup. Now, I'm not saying that wouldn't be good or better. Um, I think for around 250 to 275, Oak Steels has a 4-inch glass column with 4 copper bubble plates that have multiple. Now, the 2 and the 3-inch bubble plates, those really don't do much because it just has like one, there's one upcomer and downcomer right in the middle of them, right? But when you get up to the 4s, this is like 5, then you start getting pretty good reflux, and then you can start measuring the amount of alcohol that's sitting on your plates and kind of adjust your deflegmator up and down to keep a certain amount of alcohol on those plates. But you'll notice that like bottom plate will have a bit, and then the next plate won't have hardly any, and then the next plate will load up, and then the next plate doesn't. That's kind of it's weird the way that works, but once you start working with it and adjusting your temperatures on your deflegmators, you'll right. Right. Yeah, you'll definitely be able to do that. Yeah, yeah, and way mine is, I can turn that deflegmator off on my column, and I come off at 150s, 160s, and then just come out of the football 140s, you know. Um, so it's pretty, and off my column I can basically turn everything down, come off, from 140 all the way up to 187, I think. And I didn't really get the water cold going into my deflegmator, but I've gone from 140s to 187 just by adjusting the temperatures in the deflegmator and how I was refluxing. So, and it's a lot of fun with the tri clamp setups. You can, um, yeah, you can make some pretty interesting steel designs. Yeah, there's a lot of good videos out there that'll help you, William. And there's some in the militia files and some in the DIY shining stuff files, and I'll check and see in some of my files. I've got thousands in my on my computer, and I'll see if there's any kind of books. 539 for the 4-inch. Wow, that's pretty high, bro. Let me find this company. I'll turn you on to them. They're on eBay, and they may have raised their prices. And I hope not. Let's see, because that's when I was planning on getting. Let me pull this up here. I can find eBay. So many links. Damn it. There we are. A watch list. Yeah, let's see. Okay. All right. Go to eBay and look for Lion Brewing Solutions. And they have a 4-inch borosilicate glass copper bubble plate, 4-inch column. It's $270. It's gone up a little bit. It was like $250, so it's gone up about $20. But it's probably the same thing you're looking at over there. Pretty much the same thing as what Oak Stills. Actually, I think Oak Stills makes these, and if I'm not mistaken, you can get them cheaper here than at Oak Stills. So, but yeah, Lion is in the Animal Brewing Solutions. One word, and tell him I sent you. Old Santa sent you. I'm not sure if Philbilly has these columns or not. Let me check Philbilly Moonshine. Also, yeah, philbillymoonshine.com if he has them. I'm not sure if he has those. I'll check real quickly. Okay. That was weird. Let's see. Yeah, I think it can make you a copper column like that, but I don't see. Yeah, he's got them. He's got the 2-inch. And he may be able to get you the 4s. I don't know. But yeah, he's got the 2-inch, but I don't think he carries the 4s. Yeah, you definitely want to get the 4. Yeah, yeah, definitely check out Line Brewing Solutions, and they're not like a big, huge, group. It's an individual, it's a mom and pop type business. What's going on, Monty? What's up, brother? Doing pretty good. How about yourself? Just trying to recuperate from this weekend, man. It was a rough one. Got pretty hammered. Had a pretty good time. Yeah, the 4. Yeah, I'm going to the 4. I've got the 2s. I don't, it's just there's nothing. Definitely want to go with the 4. That's right. Feeling fine and drinking shine. Good to hear, man. Oh man, I'm still feeling a little bit though. Not as bad as Maggie. Yeah, Maggie Valley is definitely a 3 or 4 day hangover. But this is Wednesday and I'm feeling human, so I did pretty good. But yeah, man, when you start getting old, those hangovers last a lot longer than they used to. The next day I'd be about half a day down, and then by the end of the day I'd be ready for some hair of the dog. But yeah, it's been 3 days and a lot of rest, and I'm just now getting caught up. I've been sleeping 8 and 10 hours. Yeah, yeah. Looking to get a griddle. You talking about like one of those Johnstone? I looked at a lot of those too, and the flat tops, and maybe somebody can help me, but what's the difference in, like a flat top? I know what they are. Basically, just a flat top with some burners underneath, and it's a griddle and gets hot and cooks. But can't you just put like, excuse me, buy one of those like a tray griddle and put on your gas grill and do pretty much the same thing? Or I don't know. That's what I was thinking about doing, is just getting one of those big, tray looking things and just sit right on the gas grill and crank it up and have a little, smooth top. But yeah, 270, it's gone up, but I still think that you can get it cheaper through Line Brewing than actual oak steels. So, and it's an oak steel product, so they get a pretty good discount from them. I guess they buying a lot of volume, from China, and they get it pretty cheap. Yeah, I was thinking the same, man. It's just, well, as long as it's, it covers the grill part, right? Just instead of having grate, you've just got a solid little, like a tray basically, but it's flat. I don't know. I've got two grills out there as it is, and a smoker, and it's like, man, do I need another? It's like, God damn, I'm gonna have more shit out there than I got in my kitchen. I got two grills and a smoker, and you know, I've got one grill that's gas. Well, both of them are gas, but one's infrared. It's pretty interesting. It's got some different burners on it. It gets really hot, but yeah, it's more efficient than just my gas one. My gas one pretty big, and I've had to replace the burner in it. They rusted out. I don't know why they don't put good. Well, I guess I do, so you'll buy a new one. But it'd be nice to have a good stainless steel burner in there, a big thick cast iron one. Right. Yeah, yeah, definitely way to go. I've talked to a lot of people. I was really skeptical about using heating elements like that, and especially when you're going into a brandy or something that's got is got a little bit of milkiness to it. And I'm like, how does that not scorch? How does that not come into contact with that element and scorch? But it doesn't. What's going on, Dark? Good to see you, brother. Hope you had a good weekend, my friend. But yeah, it's and they don't scorch, they don't create off flavors. Yeah, trouble. Yeah, it's tough not getting a little bit greedy and keeping a little extra. If you're planning on aging in a barrel for long periods of time, you can kind of cheat a little bit, like what you're talking about. Maybe get some of those lower heads that are coming off that are real close to the hearts, and some of those high tails that are real close to the hearts, and combine those with the hearts and age them, and over time those heads estrify. There's some esters in those. It has some pretty good fruity flavor, and the acids and the oils in both of those kind of combine and estrify to make some interesting flavors. But if it's something that you're going to be drinking, like a white dog or some, brandy straight out from it without any aging or time, then no, you don't. You want to make some pretty tight cuts. Yeah, I don't know who you are. Hey, brother, you ain't missed us. We last Wednesday I wasn't on, and over the weekend we went to Farm to Bottle, so I didn't have a podcast then. So I haven't been around for the last week either. So you picked a good time to get busy, brother. Fall's usually a busy time. Everybody trying to get everything done before the winter comes. Getting about hunting season for me. They had bow season come in early, and I don't like killing deer when it's 60 degrees outside, man. I like cold weather, and cold weather, usually you're dealing with less parasites on your animal, and when it's cold, if you haven't found your deer in a half an hour, you don't have to worry about it spoiling because it's freezing, right? What's going on, Kimbo? Good to see you, brother. So I've been I wait. Oh, up north. Yeah, the air steels are interesting. I've not used one. They were asking me that this weekend at the table. I was sitting out, had an air steel sitting out there, and I've never run one and tried it. But I imagine that would probably be the hardest thing about an air steel is getting really good clean cuts. Yeah, both seasons started, and they'll have a black powder season and all that coming up. But early bow season started, and yeah, regular bow season, I think October through all the way through January. Yep, same here, brother. No, I don't think it goes to February here, but yeah, you got to wear the orange during the gun season. Yep. My watermelon turned out like everybody else is horrible. There's a few good ones though. There's a few good watermelons. I ran it once, and I got zero flavor to carry forward. I used infusions. I used the watermelon snow cone syrup. Use the watermelon Jolly Rancher, which usually that's usually a good way to get some good flavor carryover. Didn't work, and Kool Aid, concentrated Kool Aid flavors, none of it carried over. Not even nothing, zero. It's the worst. That's why they picked it. It's probably one of the hardest things. That's why John Bench picked it because he knew it was going to humble a lot of people that profess to know it all and can do it all. But um, yeah, watermelon's a humbling brandy to make. It's not a good wine, and it's not a good shine, and it's really difficult to do and to get the flavor to carry over. It's just a waste of time. I don't think I'll ever ferment another watermelon. It's just yeah, it's still getting in the mid 80s here, but 50s at night, high 50s at night, and at mid 80s in the day. So still pretty warm here. Yeah, let me see what our season is. For those that keep track, I'm Googling this because I don't know off the top of my head. Some people like to monitor how many times I Google. Maybe they just do a shot every time I Google. They won't get very drunk. Dear. Let's see. Yeah, archery. Oh, I hadn't started yet. I thought it'd already somebody. I thought somebody said they were. Maybe it's a youth hunt. Archery season starts September 27th and modern gun November 8th. But we have primitive weapons. No, so I guess it's the 27th. I thought people were hunting already. Maybe that's just some poachers. Maybe they're just talking about scouting or something already. Yeah, right here starts September 2nd. Oh, that's 2023. Well, damn, maybe they saw that shit and went early. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, usually it starts a little earlier in September. Strange. Let me read on about this. That doesn't seem right. Yeah, muzzleloader 18th, 19th. 2-day muzzleloader, that's it. Oh no, December 13th to the 21st. Modern gun, November 8th to the 23rd. Um, hmm. Interesting. Yeah, that's weird because some people are saying, let me go to the actual hunting. Yep, I knew it. September 6th, so it has started. I knew people were hunting already. September 6th through January 19th, archery. Varies every year. But I knew it started already. I don't know why in the hell that one site doesn't have it updated, but yeah, September 6th. I was going to say, they must be poaching over Roger, poaching him another one. Giving him hell. Looked like he saw a pretty good one on his deer cam though. He had pretty good little buck with some drop tines on it. So yeah, I don't hunt till it's cold. Yeah, I'm not killing any warm weather deer myself. Well, here for primitive weapons, it's black powder, pretty much what they mean by primitive weapons. Black powder season. No, not at all dark. In fact, I think Phil Billy has like two of those Vevers set up for his like a 20 and 30 that he uses. So if you just had one for your 10-gallon, the chiller, that'd work pretty well. Also, it's if you haven't seen what we call the hillbilly chillers, it's basically taking a window unit air conditioner and taking it apart and bending that coil down without, of course, bending the copper lines. You have to do it very carefully, but you position that coil down into the water, and of course, you're taking the fans off. But when that compressor runs, those coils get cold, and it transfers, of course, the cold to the water. You keep that water circulating. Keep your little pump in there and keep the water circulating over those coils, and it essentially makes a good little chiller. And you can put those in a cooler. I've seen them, rig it to where it sits on the side of a cooler or like on a little. They make a little wood table for it to sit next to the cooler, and then the actual coil is bent over into the cooler itself. those work pretty well. I think on the DIY channel, I think we used to have a video of one making it years ago. Somebody posted a video of using one and making one, but if not, maybe we can look at getting one, video of doing that in the file section. But yeah, on the DIY Shining Stuff page and on the militia page, go to the file section and look at all the different files that we got. A lot of good files, and I'm adding to it all the time. I got so many things going on in my life. Maybe this winter when there's absolutely nothing else to do and I'm twiddling my thumbs, I'll have some time to do some things, but I've always got so much on my plate that has to get done. And I've got so many things here at the house I've got to get done. It's they're starting to pile up on me. Does he? George has one. Cool. Yeah, they're pretty slick, and probably be a real good video watch. George's a great guy, and he does a good job of explaining things. Right. Yeah, there's a lot of places that don't allow, high powered rifles. People, hunters, a lot of times they get that buck fever and they don't really focus on what's behind that deer, and you get in a flat area, that rifle can carry for quite a ways. So, right. That's why I like to hunt from the stand. You're angling down, you miss, it's going into you don't lose all those arrows, right? 100 pounds of apples. Hell yeah. Yeah, the chiller, those little air conditioner chillers work great. I'm gonna make one. I keep threatening to do a video on making one. I need to. I'm gonna get one set up to run outside. When I run inside in the wintertime, I do it in the kitchen, and I just in the sink, I just put a big old, milk jug of ice and then recirculate through the whole system back into the sink. And when it gets hot, I'll just route it to the other sink and drain and do all that and kind of play that game and keep the temperatures regulated. But outside, I had been using the pool, but I'm gonna rig up a chiller so I can control. It's hard for me to get the pool water cold, right? It's 70, 78 degrees, and in the summertime it'll get in the 80s, and it's hard to cool it, and I can't get it cool enough. And in the spring and fall, it's pretty cool and it's good, but I want to get one of those little chillers going. Right. That's why we got four wheelers side by side. For us old parts, it's hard to get around. Yeah, my knees are bad too, bro. There ain't no way I could do it all. Just get you a little cheap 4x4, man. You don't have to have you know, everybody, gets them. They have to go out and spend $70,000 on a turbo side by side. I got friends that go crazy, man. They spend all that kind of money and wonder why in the hell they're broke all the time. It's like, well, bro, you driving around a $70,000 side by side turbocharged, man. You know, if you'd saved that money and invested it, you could have bought you a good four wheeler and had all that money making you money. But now it's just depreciating every year while it sits there. Yeah, just a little 400 Kawasaki or Honda or something like that. Just get in and out of the woods and drag a deer. That's all you need. You don't need any fancy 1,000 cc or turbocharged and all this. I mean, they're nice as hell. I'd love to have one, but there's just so many other things I'd put my money. I'd invest that money before I'd ever dream of spending on that. Oh, you can't, huh? Damn, they pretty strict up there. But like I said, there's a lot of houses close by, and there's a lot of trails they let you use here, but they don't let you. You can't get off the trail, and cause a lot of problems and stuff. Hey, garden tractor, man. I've had my buddies get their damn riding mowers in there, man. They drop that deck off there, and they just, yo, Miss Tammy, how you not? Good to see you on here. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I've had buddies drop a deck off a riding mower, and they'll jump on that thing and go out in the woods, raise the deck on a zero turn, and just go right on out the house, on out into the woods, just on their zero turn. Drag it back in. They'll do, anything. But yeah, where I hunt, it's pretty hilly. A lot of mountains up and down, so I'm getting too old to hump a lot of those hills for many, many miles and miles and packing deer, dragging them out like I used to. Yeah, I used to be able to throw them over my shoulder and carry them out, but those days are long gone. Me carrying 200-300 pounds like that. Doing good to carry my own fat ass now. I'm carrying extra 80 as it is. Yeah. Yeah, I've seen them use about everything to get in and out of those woods. Wow. Interesting. They reintroduced, oh Lord, I'm tired still. They reintroduced elk here in Kentucky about 20, 30 years ago, 20 some years ago, I guess. And I've been entering the lottery. I think I missed a few years entering it, but I've entered the lottery a lot of years. And, it's $10 every time to enter the lottery, and I've never won it yet. But hopefully, eventually, either I'll win one of them lotteries, or they'll let you kill them on your own land. But they're pretty strict about them right now. But pretty good sized herd in Kentucky now. It's getting to the point where a lot of people they're getting animals from our herd to populate them. So yeah, we're getting a pretty good herd of them here, and getting big. They got some big bucks, man. On your mower. Yeah, we got some land in eastern Kentucky, Pike County, and my dad's in partnership with one of the landowners, and they usually loan us. They got a bunch of four-wheelers sitting down there. They usually loan us one of those. A lot of blackberries too. I didn't get a chance to get there this year and pick blackberries, but and all the way along the road, it's a road to a gas well, and him and my dad are partners on that chunk of land they own together that has a gas well on it. And he owns on this side, and him and my dad both on this side, and then my dad owns on the other side. And they loan us. They got a bunch of different four wheelers, but those, I think Kawasaki 400 is one I usually use, and then they had Yamaha Rhino or something like that that was a little bit bigger, 600 maybe 7. But that little Kawasaki 400 4-wheel drive, that's all you need. Yeah, we got black bears. We got no wolves, but we got plenty of coyotes, and we got suppose we got some starting to get some big cats here. You know, they say no, but in Paris, Kentucky, they kill a mountain lion. Now, some of those people are saying, "Oh, it must have been somebody's pet or this, that," and I don't think so. I think that they're just very few. There's not that many of them. But and that's kind of in the bluegrass. That's not even in the mountainous areas. So, but I've seen some really, really big wildcats too that look like small cougars. I mean, they get big. But yeah, we got some good sized bear. A lot of bear. A lot of they're starting to get into some of the cities too. They basically every time they breed, they increase their range, and their offspring go out and of course create their own range, and it just keeps getting larger and larger. And we got some now starting to come into Somerset and into some of the bluegrass, cities. They're going to have to be relocated for sure. It would, definitely would. A lot of people don't realize that having the predators is an essential part of it. That's why a lot of these people that are so down on hunting don't understand that hunters help keep a lot of deer and other animals from going hungry. We keep the populations in check, and without hunting, they would have to literally go out and kill them to keep the herds from over browsing. People just don't understand that. I had a pretty good class in college on the conservation of natural resources. It was a 500 level class, and pretty tough class, but we went into a lot of um, wildlife management and things of that nature. And most people have no idea. They have no clue about all that. They just all they see is you killed an animal. But yeah, me killing that deer kept that deer from and the hunters that we killed every season help keep the rest alive. And help keep the food from getting over browsed. And I'm drinking a lot of liquids trying to make up for all I lost, man. People don't realize that alcohol, man. It'll dehydrate you. We had a pretty good time. Right now, I'm drinking on Mountain Dew. Good old Mountain Dew. It was originally made to mix with moonshine. They created Mountain Dew to market to the hillbillies to mix it with their moonshine. They just knew that they loved the sound of that Mountain Dew. But yeah, I haven't been I've been kind of nursing hangover. I haven't really been drinking much, man. I've been trying to cut back a little bit here, man. I got pretty hammered though this weekend. I got there's so many jars going around. A lot of sweet stuff though. Yeah, with the buffalo in the woods and the wolves in the plains and stuff. That's right, brother. Got to get them electrolytes back in you. That alcohol drains you, man. But I did have buddy brought me some Weller. Thank you very much, Jeff. And some, what's that? New Riff. Now, I'm pretty sure you mean Coca-Cola, right? Yeah, cola's good. Yeah, I drink cherry Coke. I like that cherry Coke Zero. We drink the hell out of that. I like it a lot. I know there's Several people this weekend drink a lot of cherry Coke, but we drink this Baja Blast Zero. That's pretty good stuff. Got a kind of a lime flavor to it. A little bit more flavorful than just a regular dew. But yeah, the cherry Coke Zero. This stuff right here. Actually, there's a little bit left in there. That stuff's the bomb. I'll finish that off. But yeah, there was a lot of sweet drinks getting passed around this weekend. It seems like it's kind of popular these days. 20 years ago, it was all just straight liquors and aged liquors and just different gins, vodkas, rums, tequilas, lots of bourbons, lots of corn liquor. But a lot of people these days are making neutrals and making sweet drinks and different fruit juices and stuff. Yeah, the blackberry Dr. Pepper is good. Definitely have tried that. I like it. Yeah, yeah. You don't really feel it, man. They say, I wouldn't know personally. They say you just drink and drink and drink all that stuff while you're doing it. I don't know. That's just what they say. But yeah, it's you get a hangover without getting drunk. Yeah. Yeah, it's not even schnapps, John. I mean, they're taking like the snow cone syrup that I was talking about infusing with. I mean, they're just taking that and mixing it with like a vodka basically and making a fruity drink and trying different combinations. Now there was one that was real good. What is that stuff? I'm Googling because I don't know the name of this juice for the Google watchers. But it's a juice that comes in like maybe see y'all can help me. It's a juice that comes like in a milk carton, and it's like got several different juices in it. I'm trying to think of the name of it. It's a mixed juice, though. Let's just say mixed juice. Not juice, not sangria. If I see it, I'll know it, though. Let me go to images. Yeah, we'll find it on here. So it's kind of like the Minute Maid, but it's something different, and it's got like guava, and it's. I think it's a foreign name, maybe, or just something I don't. I'm looking at all these pictures now, and I don't see it. But it's like got guava and pineapple and not this Tropicana, but similar to that. But it's kind of like all different. Yeah, it's kind of like a juice cocktail, but it's like got like a guava, kiwi, pineapple, and you got several different combinations like that. And there was one that was a pineapple, mango, pineapple, something else combination, and it was really good. And they had it mixed. A lot of the ones I tasted, I didn't want to be mean to anybody, but most of them were just too syrupy. They didn't have enough alcohol in them, and they were like 40 proof, and all you could really taste was just a heavy syrup. And it's like, man, I need a shot of insulin to go with a shot of that. It's just like they were just too sweet. Most everything that was done that way was just done way too sweet for my taste. I like the lightly flavored stuff that I can still tell that I'm getting some alcohol out of it. And that sweet stuff, man, it makes for the worst damn hangovers. And I know that's why I felt so bad the whole weekends because there's a lot of that. I know it is, Clint, and that's all it is. It's. I don't even call it moonshine. It's just basically flavored neutral. It ain't even good corn liquor or nothing. Just flavored neutral, and they taste good. It's just most of them was just too sweet. They just need to learn how to mix them and make them less sweet and more liquor. I think when I taste one, I want 80 proof. And I don't care if it's got a little bit of that juice in it, sweeten it up. I want to know that I'm drinking some damn liquor. I don't want something that just all I'm tasting is the juice and no liquor to go with it. Um, it's just it's just not that good for me. But yeah, there was a lot of sweet going around. That's what most of them were drinking. A lot of the sweet stuff and passed around. Everybody loving it, digging it and sharing it. And yeah, I like knowing that I've got some alcohol. I'm there to drink. I'm not there for fruit punch. Hell, if I did that, I'd just stay at home and drink me a little box of juicy juice with the kids. Yeah, yeah. We used to make in growing up. We would all get together and everybody'd bring your moonshine or your vodka or whatever. We wouldn't let you bring gin, but whatever you wanted. Usually clear liquor, vodka, rum, pure grain, and we'd dump that into a big. Well, basically the same thing we use for ferment barrels, and start dumping in the Hawaiian punch and Kool-Aid mix and water and different juices. And we just have a whole bunch of different types of orange juice, you know, Tropicana juice. We mix, red. We mix Kool-Aid packs in with it, just everything we can get in there. And we'd have 10 gallons, 20 gallons of this stuff going, and we called it hunch punch, and kind of like a panty dropper. And we'd all get drunk on that, and then next thing you know, boys and girls were pairing off and sneaking off into the woods. Yep, jungle juice. Yeah, we called it hunch punch. Those are the good old days. Where you running, Kimbo? Yeah, yeah, we do. We had quite a few keg parties and stuff, and I never was much of a beer drinker. I never. I mean, I drank a lot of beer growing up because I didn't want to. I usually drank beer when I didn't want to get drunk. That's how it worked. I just wanted to social drink with my buddies or have something to a bottle to throw at the signs as we drove around. Yeah, it was. It is. That's the Spanish fly of the mountains. I had a lot of girlfriends though. They like that Boone's Farm. I saw somebody mention Boone's Farm earlier. They were kind of fond of that tickle pink. That was all it took. The old tickle pink. A lot of gals like that. Zima, yeah, Zima came much later. Yeah, I'm an old man. Zima, yeah, I remember Zima. Do they not have it anymore? What's up, Hillbilly? Not much, brother. We just chilling. Strawberry Fields. Yep, there was trying to think all the different Boone Farm flavors. Hard for me to remember a lot of them. There's a lot of wine that we drank a lot of wine back then. But that was pretty much one of the most popular ones, the Boone's Farm. Awesome. A little bit of everything then, huh? The Monster Mash. That's what we call those. The old Monster Mash. Yeah, I've got to try to find that. There, William Clark. Okay, let me remember him. Let me try to find him on here. I'll send him a little invite to the malicious so we can get him going. Actually, William is a famous person. Lewis and Clark expedition. Yeah. That's a pretty big name in Kentucky. But I will find him and get him invited over. Let's see. Lord have mercy. I never see. See his picture. All right. We'll get him over here. Get him started properly. Yeah, we're going to do the shit show again. It's just we have so much stuff going on right now, and Damon, he's traveling for work between Delaware and home, and Tom's got so much going on in his personal life. He really wasn't able to do it. Phil's busy, and shit, I'm doing it 2 nights a week as it is already, and But yeah, we're gonna have a Friday night show. We're gonna go back and we're gonna do things that maybe a little different, and I think we're gonna still do the open mic, maybe a time or two, a few times, maybe a time or two a month, and then we may do something that gets maybe a little more political, a little more angled. We definitely want to get more education on here, other than just mine. So we're going to try to focus on getting, more educational podcasting going on during the week, other days other than just Wednesday and Saturday, and get some other people that are pretty knowledgeable and no, the boxing didn't happen. I don't know. They might have done a thumb war or something. Actually, my class was just ending right when that got started, so I didn't get to see what actually happened. I told them they should at least arm wrestle, but the boxing commission got word that there was going to be a boxing match, and it wasn't sanctioned. And they're like the boxing mafia, so you can't have a boxing match without them getting their digs in it and them getting their fees and cuts and all this bullshit. So that kind of fucked everything up, which is pretty much a scam. Like if you want to have some boxing and it ain't going to be sanctioned, you just fuck you. We don't want you. We don't need you. So it's going to be a boxing match. They're signing their disclaimers. They're going to fight, and there ain't shit you can do about it unless you want to fight too. But I guess you gotta when you got events like that, you know. Glycerin and shine. That's a good question. There's a lot of glycerin, is pretty much a natural product. So a lot of people think that glycerin is a chemical you're putting in there and it's chemicaling it up and it's not great and all that. But there's a lot of natural glycerins that are already in a lot of the distillates and stuff, depending on what you mash and distill. Like, for example, Alfredo's bamboo. Bamboo has tons of glycerides in it, and that's what helps make that bamboo shine so damn smooth. I don't know if anybody's ever tried it or not. I've tried it. It's fantastic. It's got a unique flavor. I'm not going to say good or bad. It's just different. It's not bad. It's just a different flavor. I think it would make a really good mixed drink, and it would get lost in mixed drinks. That proof would be high, and you could really get drunk from it and not even know it. But it's extremely smooth. I mean, you can be drinking 100 proof and it's like 70. And it's because of the natural glycerides in it. So, it's not necessarily always a bad thing. It'll give you the shits though, and I think it's probably not a good thing to add to your liquor to make it smoother. If you have bad liquor, you need to, change your recipe and the methods, and instead of just trying to make it up by adding glycerin. Um, I think that's how they do their bamboo. Basically, the same method as a cane. I haven't really spent a lot of time talking to him. We did consult. He did consult me a little bit on some of the things that were going on with it, like it glows in the dark naturally. It's got a uh, chemical compound in it that's translucent that will glow in the dark, and it's called tyrosine. And so he was asking me about that, and he also noticed that when it's fermenting, it was putting off a lot of heat. So it had a larger exothermic reaction than a lot of things, and that's just basically a lot of the chemical processes going on, and the fermentation process, it gives off energy. ATP, adenosine triphosphate, is a energy that's given off in a reaction of heat and actual light. So if you had sensitive enough equipment, you could easily measure the temperature. But if you had really ultra sensitive equipment, you could actually see some light given off in a fermentation. Now, again, it would have to be ultra sensitive. It's something that the naked eye is not going to see. But yeah, yeah, and well, with a sugar shine, you really need it to help smooth it out, and that's probably um, why they add the glycerin. If in any high sugar shine is going to have a bite, and that helps take the bite out, and it makes it a little easier to drink. A lot of people don't like that. A lot of people really don't care as long as it doesn't, as long as it doesn't have too much bite and it gets them drunk, doesn't make them sick, and they don't spend too much time on the pot. But it'll give you a little bit of the runs, if you drink too much of it. But it's not bad for you. It's not a bad chemical. It's going to kill you or any. A lot of people really, you know, get all flutter about the little things, like you got a brass fitting on that steel. It's like, yeah, just like the brass fitting on your sink in your bathroom that you use every day. And it's like, can't believe you might be getting some heavy metals out of that. And I'm like, yeah, and that tuna that you just ate, you probably got 10 times the amount out of the fish you ate from than you're getting from a faucet like that. And, never seen somebody so concerned about their health that drink a lot of alcohol. It's like, really, if you're that concerned about your health and your body, might want to start with giving up alcohol before you start giving up drinking water, because it's coming out of a faucet that might have some brass in it. So people get funny over certain things. It's entertaining, but most of the brass these days, since the late '80s, it's gotten a lot better. And I think since the early 90s they changed the standard. The stuff you get at the store today is like has a fraction of what brass fittings, used to have even in the 80s and 70s. The old ones, I guess, probably had a little bit more, you know, I don't think lead or mercury is the problem in them, but other metals maybe. But, we were using galvanized pipe and lead in our solder just until the 70s. So, yeah, it glycerins in a lot of the vape too. Yep, sure is. Yep. Yeah, there's some glycerins and what's that? Similar to a glycerol where they use, I think glycerols, but there's some like the coolant, the car coolant, very very similar compounds. Trying to think of the, it's a unique one. It's not the coolant. Let me pull up. I'm googling because I'm getting a brain for it. It's ethylene glycol. Yeah, I didn't even have a chance to type it and start to come to me. So it's not ethylene glycol, but there's something very similar to that that's like food grade propylene. There you go, propylene glycol. And people think, oh, it's just like, no, it's not ethylene glycol, and it's very very similar. You like nitroglycerin? There's a lot of people that take that nitro that have heart problems, but not nitroglycerin. But maybe it is nitro. It's different. It's not the explosive. But yeah, propylene glycol. There's a lot of steels that use that for their, jagged steels. They use that for heating, and there's a lot of chillers that use that in the chillers, circulating in the chillers. But yeah, there's propylene glycol in a lot of the foods and stuff, and medicines, and it's used in a lot of things. Probably not one of the best things to put in your body, but you know, neither is that neither is that high proof alcohol we drink. Oh, can y'all tell I ain't feeling good? I can't believe I got this much color on my face. I've been pale last 2 days. I've been kind of, maybe it's the sun from that damn tent. And I tell y'all how hot it got in that son of a bitch, man. It'd be 7 o'clock, 7:30. That sun would come up and it wouldn't be bad. It's nice 50, mid 50s, and hell, and over there freezing to death, chilling. And then by 8 o'clock, 8:30, it's fucking tent was 107 degrees, man. You had to come out of there. Ain't no sleeping in that son of a bitch. God, I was dying. Yeah, yeah, it was the sun. If it wasn't for that, I'd be pale right now because I feel it. Yeah. Yeah, there's lots of, like, John's right. There's lots of glycerins. There's a lot of natural glycerins that we get in our alcohols. There's glycerins in the corn that we use, and a lot of the vegetables and stuff that we use, and like Alfredo's. You know, um, bamboo has a lot. I was really surprised at how much bamboo has, but it packs a lot of them. Actually, I think that'd be, if it's not one of the commercial sources for it, it probably should be. Yeah. Your give a fuck feels just ran dry, huh? Yeah, mine too, man. That damn autocorrect. There's something I type sometimes and I on my phone, and I've got a little teeny keyboard and fat ass fingers, and I don't know what it is, but every time I type this word, it autocorrects it, and it makes the comment sound really gay. And I've got nothing against people want to be gay. That's fine, but that's not the message I'm trying to send when I send it. And I don't know what it is. I can't remember what it is, but it's one of the things that I'm really bad about. WOULD and COULD would and could. I'm real bad about hitting the K instead of the L. I don't know why. I've just got a bad habit of my fat finger hitting that instead. And there's another word like that, but I can't remember what it is saying. But instead of love, live, it's love or something. And yeah, it's 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 real funny. So autocorrect, man, I need to turn that shit off because it makes some. And I've watched it too, and doing the CC, just listening to, closed captioning and reading the words, and I watched like a lot of Philbillies videos with the closed captioning on it. And it's like these words he's not saying at all. It's putting some of these words out there. It's funny as fuck watching it sometimes because it's like that's not what he said at all. Yeah. Oh, would like to know too. Good question. What's the question here? I missed it. What should my sour to sweet ratio be on the apples? That's I don't. That's going to be one of those opinion things that just trial and error. I've found that I don't use a lot of the sour apples. They probably make some of the best damn shine, but I try to get the ones that are sweet as can be. Um, but I've never been given a bunch of free apples. If I was given a shitload of free sour apples, I'd probably run that shit, and I could probably answer your question a lot easier. But Britta, I've got some. I might be, brother. I'm gonna have to. I don't know. I'm gonna have to take me a little nappy nap. So if I do, it's gonna be like 1 o'clock, midnight, 1 o'clock. I'm gonna get off here probably at 10:30, another half hour or so, and I still don't. I'm not 100% yet, man. I'm not feeling it. My stomach, man. I got a pretty bad. I got IBS, and I don't think Crohn's, but I don't know. I got stomach issues, and this weekend definitely tweaked those. I feel peaked though. I feel sweaty. I'm gonna turn. Tell me if can y'all hear that fan very loud? Is that? Can y'all hear that? Because for me, it's a pretty loud fan, and when I turn it on, everybody says no, they can barely hear it. I don't want it to interrupt people, but god damn, it feels good. It's not overwhelming or anything. You can't hardly hear it at all. Good. It's pretty loud. I mean, it's not like a box fan. It's one of them little desk fans that goes back and forth with the little small electric, fans and stuff. So it makes pretty loud whir. I just don't want big aggravating fan. Yeah, it does, man. It feels really good right now. Yeah, I think my microphone may noise cancel that out. Yeah, I should be on there later on, Kimbo. You want? You want to run a few? I need to. I'm behind, man. I haven't been running any of these. I got to level up and get my. No, that's on full blast right there. What's going on, Tony? What's up, brother? I ain't seen you in a little bit. How's that? You done with your boat? I'll holler at you when I get on there. We can run some of that big map casuals. There's so much cheaters. You don't hear it either, Dark. That's good. I'm glad. You ain't done with the boat yet. For those that don't know, Tony's got him a nice center console that he redecked and redid the whole boat. Did nice, man. Nice job on it. Well, I guess still working on it, but looks like he's about done with it. I've got center console. I'm gonna send him to work on when he gets done with his. Yeah, had a pretty good weekend, Steve O. How's it going, brother? Yeah, Kimbo's the slayer, man. He's the cod killer. The cheaters, man. There's so many cheaters on there. I can't. They've ruined that game, man. It used to be such a great game till all the cheaters got on there, but they messed it up for everybody. No, you ain't gonna work on mine too, man. Come on, bro. Man, mine needs a lot of work. It needs redecking as well, rewiring and plumbing. It's a nice boat though. It's a 21-foot Wellcraft Deep V center console. I've taken it out in the ocean where we used to drive it down to the Keys. I used to scuba dive off of it and fish off of it. Hell, I've been out in the ocean using nothing but a compass to navigate with. Got a GPS on there, but it wasn't working. And just using the compass, I navigated pretty well. You know, getting that Gulf Stream, you know, and it makes you drift and it takes you up north and you have to kind of triangulate time and everything, get back to where you started. And I wasn't real familiar with, you know, looking at the land and being able to judge where I am by looking at the towns and cities and all the different towers and stuff. But we had to stop a couple of people asking me, we near Isla Mirada? No, it's a little further south. Some people scared to death to stop. They wouldn't stop for. They think, I guess, we're fucking pirates or something. Me and my ex in there is like, you're running from me. Come on, man. I'm not trying to board your ship and steal it or anything. I think some people got real scared. We just went directions, man. Well, I have to get on there and see what it is. When's it end, Kimbo? 8 wins in a row. Oh, 10 wins in a row. Used to you get the nuke. You do the nuke thing. I don't know. Shit, it ain't easy to get 10 wins in a row on. If you have a good team, I guess. Yeah, we were out there, man. You couldn't see anything. We were hitting the reefs and do a little scuba, and I did a little bit for a while, but I was alone, and my ex was on the boat, and I was like, you know, I'm really not real fond of scuba diving alone. I like having somebody with you. So yeah, I know, John. It is. It's probably the best way to go. You don't have to worry about all that shit. Really, the best was we would go down there in the Keys, and there was this couple that we rented they had a duplex, and it was right on the canal, and they had a dock and everything there, and we could launch the boat and just keep it there at the dock the whole weekend or week that we were there, and not have to trailer it around and put it in and out every day. That's a pain in the ass. But if you have a boat dock, and if you had like a nice covered boat dock, and you could just push a button and your boat drops down into the water off, and just go right out and then come back and redock it and lift it up out of the water, keep the barnacles off of it. That'd be the life for sure, because it's so much easier. And I like getting out there on the coral outcroppings and stuff, and getting into the grouper and the snapper, and I like saltwater fishing. You never know what the hell you're pulling up. Bass fishing, you're gonna, throwing a bobber out there, you're pretty much getting a crappie or a bluegill or a catfish or something. Here, man, you never know what you're gonna be bringing up. What year? It's a 89 wellcraft fisherman. They call it a 20, but by today's standards, it'd be called a 21 because of the pulpit and the dive platform on the back. And it's got a Mariner 175 on it. No, I didn't lose her on the boat. Yeah. Oh, I see what you're talking about. Chrysler 125. Sour Mash 108. That gel coat didn't come out good. I've never, there's a lot of coats of that stuff that goes down. I know. What, did it just bubble up? It didn't look good. I've been known to fall asleep at a tree stand. You get up in that tree stand and get all relaxed. Got that cool breeze, no sound, just nature and the birds chirping, and it's a little cooler out. And you're hunting and nice. Got a little breeze whipping through there, and you kind of kick back and all relaxed. And sometimes you just tend to go right off and have a little nappy time. Nothing wrong with that. It's nice to wake up to a big old buck too. You're sitting there all laid back, and that buck got all cozy with you snoring and didn't get wasn't bothered by it. Wake up and see a few bucks eating and grazing, a few does around you, and it's like, oh hell, how am I gonna reach down and pick that gun up without them knowing it? Yeah, that's the next thing you worry about. But yeah, you gotta strap yourself in too. If you're gonna be up in that tree snoozing, you gotta buckle up. But yeah, I've definitely fallen asleep in a deer stand more than a dozen times in my life. Quite a few, I'd say. Just about every hunting trip, I'll fall asleep at one point. I don't know, man. I'm getting to the point where I've got to do the sleep study. Anybody that's camped with me knows I tend to snore quite loudly, and they found that out last year. And they're like, "No, man, you got to camp over there this year. We saved you a spot." Well, it's funny, but yeah, I gotta do the sleep study thing and get a CPAP, and but I think from the sleep issues that I had and apnea and stuff that I've got, I'm starting to get a little narcoleptic because it's really difficult for me to drive more than like 3 hours before I start getting a little, sleepy at the wheel and start nodding off. It gets scary, so I have to pull over every few hours and get a little nappy in. So hopefully we can get that taken care of. I'm tired all the time. Like right now, I'm about to go take a nap here in a little bit where I get on there and start kicking some cod ass. But I got to get caught up. I missed a lot of time this weekend, and I got to get all my stuff done on the game. When's the season end, Kimbo? How many days we got till season end? Yeah, close the window. That's right. Man, I'm telling you, John, every evening, me and my fiance will sit down and eat at the couch, and we'll watch a different show. We'll get on Netflix and binge watch all the shows, and we'll finish eating, and then we'll just lean back and relax. She'll cuddle up, put her head on my shoulder, and next thing you know, man, we're both just long gone, long gone. It's mid-season, okay, and it's every evening, like clockwork. We'll have us a little nappy nap. All right, I'm looking. Oh, that's shiny, brother. That looks good. Now this is the paint. Oh, I'm looking at the motor now. Oh yeah, on your motor, I notice only one of the pistons is kicking out water. Are both of those supposed to kick out water, or only one? Yeah, magnetically massive, majestically. Yeah, that's funny. Autocorrect gets me every time. Yeah, I don't care how entertaining it is, how much I want to watch it. I'll I'll be snoozing in no time. All snuggled up there. Old Chrysler. Yeah, that's hard finding parts for them. I wonder if they're. Wasn't there another motor that Chrysler made back then, like a Stinger or something like that? Or seems like it had like a orange and brown and yellow rainbow on it, or something. That might not have been them though that made it. I know like Mariner and Mercury are pretty much the same maker. Mercury more for freshwater. Mariner was their saltwater division. But Evan Rude, I'm not sure. Yeah, Evinrude and Johnson. Okay, yeah, and then Mariner and Mercury, Mercruiser, yeah, the Mercruisers and Mariner or the Mercury division. Volvo, yeah, Penta. With, so I guess Chrysler probably the only one. I don't know if I don't know if Mercury bought them or not, but Force, yeah, that sounds right. Yeah, I've got a Mercury Black Max that was on a bass boat. It's a good motor. I got it in my garage. And the one that's on there is a Mariner 175, and it's a 87 model on an 89 boat. So I guess it wasn't original to the boat, but it seems to run just fine. Actually, it was the first year of the Black Max 175. It was a 78 model, 77 or 8, and it actually came with a lower unit that was geared pretty high. And the year after that, they actually geared low. They raised the gear ratio because it was blowing a lot of their engines, and they were having to warranty a lot of engines that were getting blown because it was a little too high. So that or actually a little low, but they geared them a little higher. So maybe out of the whole shot, it was a little better. A lot of people that do racing and that do stock racing really seek that lower unit out because of that gear ratio that it had in it. Cool. Yeah, I guess a lot of these. No, no, though. Y'all see a lot of foreign companies making those outboards. I mean, is there a lot of? I'm not seeing a lot of foreign companies doing a lot of them. Anywho, I don't know. Well, I think I'm gonna call it a night. About 20 minutes till, a little early, but I haven't seen a lot of real Honda. I know Honda. But I've not seen a lot of. I mean, Yamaha. Yeah, I guess Yamaha. You see some Yamahas out there that are pretty decent motors. So I guess maybe there are some Jap companies that are doing it. Yamaha, but Suzuki, yeah, Suzuki makes a decent outboard. Do they? The Daihatsu. Is that Korean Daihatsu? Or is that Japanese too? I don't know. Or are they? I'm not either. All right, y'all. Well, I'm gonna call it a night. I'm gonna go up and get a cold drink and lay down for a little bit. And I'm thinking Daihatsu might be a Korean. I'm Googling again for those that do the Google watch. This is the third time tonight. Man, I tell you, I think it's funny as shit. How in the hell you spell Daihatsu? D-I-A-H Atsu. Japanese. Daihatsu is Japanese. I was thinking it's Korean. I guess that's the Hyundai. And some of those other ones. Wow, that's antique, bro. I've got some brass props too. They used to use those in salt water a lot before they figured out how to do the anodes on the motors. That's good. Yeah, man. Yeah, Honda's Japanese too. All right, everybody. Hopefully, everybody will have a good mash run, and I'm gonna try to find that Bill William Clark guy and see if we can get him on. And see how's it going, Mike? See if we can get him in the groups and get him started and stuff. He was totally green. Had no clue about any of it, so we're going to try to get him going and get him on the right path. And, you know, get him started in the hobby. He might be from my state, looks like. But it's good to see that everybody. Missed y'all last couple of weeks or this past week, and we will see everybody this weekend. Hopefully, we'll have us a shit show Friday. If not, we'll have something going on Friday. I'm not sure exactly. We got some different things that are kind of different ideas being pushed around, but we should have something going on. But until this weekend, everybody have a great week and get your mashes going. And we'll talk to everybody for sure Saturday. And maybe next Saturday I won't be here. I got to go to the homecoming football thing. And so maybe we'll do it a different day or something, make it up on Sunday or Monday or a day that nobody's broadcasting. I don't want to step on anybody's toes or anything. So until then, everybody take care, shine on, love y'all, and we'll see you Saturday. Later.